Hi there, YouTube. This is the Magnus bringing you another Total War Warhammer tournament battle. This again is from the Questing Cup. This is my second match, which was against Artemis, and it is the first game of a best of three. So he chose to play, because he had first choice, as the Beastmen, and as a counter I decided to bring the Empire, which all in all is not a bad choice. And probably one of the more popular ones, I would say. So let's take a look at our compositions here. I have 3 great swords anchoring my center. They are flanked by 4 spearmen, each which are ranked up, had an extra rank on the far left. I have 2 crossbowmen, a great cannon. Hidden, I have the legendary Regiment of Renown of the Demigriff Knights, the Royal Altdorf Griffites. I don't know why I can never say that right. Just too many syllables, I think. I have an Amber Wizard, a General of the Empire, and an Empire Captain as my flying squad deployed as such. So I decided to deploy my main body on this hill. I decided to hide my cavalry. I thought that would give me a good element of surprise, and I forward deployed my flyers in the center so I could use them for harassment if the opportunity arises. Now, this is an absolutely huge map. This is not generally used in tournaments, but for whatever reason, Ninja Hun decided to include this one, which is cool. New maps are cool. But if we were Catacorner, I mean, look at the distance between the two. It's unreal. Really more of a 2v2 or even up to a 4v4 map with the space we have. But we did go, both very close to our corner of the map here with our deployment. So let's take a look and see what the Beastmen brought us. Up front, he has the Angor Spearman Herd. He also has 5 more of them back here. Very cost-effective unit. He has 3 of the Bestigor herd. He also has 3 Ungor Raiders, which are the bowmen of the Beastmen. He's got 2 Gorbals, because they're freaking Gorbals. Malagar, the Dark Omen, and he has Minotaurs with great weapons. So a very good build for facing the Empire as well. This is going to be a long battle, and the video is going to be even longer because there's tons of opportunity for learning here. First of all, we were both right to try to use the terrain to our advantage, because if you deploy down here in the water or around the water and stuff like that, and your opponent has the high ground and some advantage over you, you are going to have a very long day and hard time, getting across, and you're going to deal with some really horrible terrain between the forests and the water. It's just going to be a nightmare. So taking the hills makes sense. Now, initially, advantage for harassment goes to me because I have my flying squad, which he has no flying or no skirmishers of any sort as far as like fast missile cav or anything like that. He has no opportunity. These guys are safe until he crosses the field. As far as artillery, right now I have the advantage because I have the great cannon deployed on the very highest of high ground, and I have the element of surprise. So those things are going to give me quite a bit of confidence going into the match. So the first thing I'm going to do is send my harassment crew in. I want to go see if he has anything hidden in any of these trees, and I want to get a closer look at what he has because we are very far apart, to see if he has anything hidden back behind this hill and to see how he reacts, and of course have the opportunity to kill some of his dudes, which is, obviously the goal of a battle is to win, and you can't win generally without killing some people, so, or in this case some beasts. So he has a pretty tight battle line, but he's well out of the range of my cannon, so that's a non-issue. This is the magical line for my cannon, so he's very well beyond that on this big map. So I'm going to cast a Flock of Doom. I aim for center mass here to do it to affect as many units as possible, and you can see them having the bad effect on them. And I get some decent kills on these units. I'd say I was a pretty good overcast. He summons the Cygor. Now the artillery advantage shifts to him. The Cygor is a more expensive and overall more powerful artillery unit, but he's got a long way to go until he's of any threat to me, whereas I can continually Flock of Doom every chance I get. So still, all the killing and all the damage is going to be dealt by me. And he's taking his time, which I'm totally fine with. More time means more winds of magic, means more Flock of Doom. And that was really my goal with this build and my deployment, was to get maximum effect out of Flock of Doom. And if he made any mistakes, I have my flyers to punish him for doing so. And right now, I'm just kind of trying to stay the heck away from his archers. I'm just, feeling things out while I wait to cast Flock of Doom. And I want to keep eyes on as many of his units as possible. Like, see how all these guys have the eyeball? They're hidden to me. I don't like that because, there's a lot of different paths you can take on this big of a map. Like, he might decide to try to come up and around. He might come head on. He might overload a side. Anything he's thinking, I want to know. Now, his Cygor gets way ahead of the rest of his army, and I'm going to punish him for it. He's going to eat 3 flying charges, which are going to effectively take half of his health off. In the meantime, really, the only health damage is a little bit to the General of the Empire, and most of the Amber Wizard was just from the overcast. You get a miscast and you take damage. He's chucking rocks at my flyers. That's not going to work. And his archers are not armor piercing, so they're not particularly threatening. And to be honest, in this battle, I took them more seriously entirely than I should have. Now we're going to reach a critical point in this battle. And we'll go ahead and let it hit play. But what's critical here is he's about to reach the line of where my artillery has reach, which means soon his Cygor is going to be in range of my units. Now, what am I going to do with my main body here? They're in excellent position, right? I've got the high ground. I'm in a corner line like this. You see my artillery starts firing at the first target that crosses the line. The Ungor Spearman herd. Very quickly, I'm going to put him on the not the Gorbol. Very quickly, I want to put him on the Cygor, but he's out of my range. But my infantry is in his range. Now, I elect to just keep it because I feel like, okay, I've got a good commanding position here. A very amateurish mistake, or I wouldn't say amateurish, a lot of people would make this mistake, but it's a bad mistake because look what I have here. You see this hill? What if I was back here? What kind of line of sight would his Cygor have? The answer is none whatsoever. He wouldn't even be able to fire. So if I took all of my infantry and all of my bowmen and put them back here, they would be untouchable, rendering his Cygor completely useless. It didn't occur to me, and actually what I do is I move my infantry down the hill because I want to be able to more focus on this side. But why am I doing that when he's this far away? And he's not quickly moving towards me either. He's been stopping and hanging out quite a bit. So why would I do that? I'm thinking way ahead to the battle stage, the actual main stage. And what's happening? My great swords are getting punished. Now, thus far, he's got 30 kills and has done a good bit of damage. My artillery, 19 kills and done a fair bit of damage. And, of course, the Amber Wizard with his Flocks of Doom has done more damage than that. You can see it in his units. Several of them are severely weakened. But the smartest thing I could have done was hide everything behind this hill. And I'm all worried about my artillery. Well, what's he going to use to get to my artillery? Sure, he could charge the Gorbols over. And my infantry line and my arrows would have been able to move down, plenty ahead of time to be able to intercept that. So that was a big mistake. And it's the first time I watched this replay, and I've watched it several times, because if you want to get better, one of the best things you can do, watch your replays of your losses. That will teach you a lot about yourself, and if you're playing a good opponent, you'll learn a lot about what they're doing, and you'll be like, wow, I never thought of doing that. So another Flock of Doom comes down. One thing I wanted to mention, though, Flock of Doom sucks against single unit entities. I think everybody knows that. Like Gorbol, it's barely going to damage them. But it also sucks against things like Minotaurs, where there's few units. So not just single units. It's good against infantry. I got some good ones off and I got some poor ones off. So you're going to see I have my cannon firing at a Cygor and it's knocking him down and things like that. But it's not as accurate as I thought. I would have liked to have put another chevron, put a chevron or two on this to make it more accurate. I think it would have been better served for this purpose. But at this point, sure, his Cygor's beat up, but it's not like other artillery, right? Like you can take out, if you do that much damage to my cannons, odds are either one or two of the three cannons will be broken, or they won't have men to field them, right? so you can reduce the effectiveness of cavalry. Whether this guy has 1 health or his full health, he is just as effective as an artillery unit. He throws a ghost rock there. It just disappeared. So he starts to push forward. I've got my flying units hidden in the trees. That way, if his Ungor Raiders try to fire, they're going to be less effective. And I'm just watching him. And again, you know, this is a terrible sin. These guys should be up here. So I'm going to move even a little further down because I'm hoping the tree line is going to help with the Cygor, but it doesn't. It's not an effective strategy. You know, he's down to 1775 health, but he's as lethal as he was the day he was spawned. So I've taken considerable damage to my front line. Not a ton, but he's focusing on my greatswords, which are very expensive and powerful units. And while he's getting kills with his Cygor, my gun is just shooting at a single entity. There, we do some more damage to him. Looks like he's going to rout, so I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't have to worry about him so much. We'll see if that if that stands true. Going to put down another Flock of Doom. You'll notice I targeted his Bestigor herd because they are by far the best infantry that he has, so they are the best target. I want to get other units as well when I can, but I want to make sure I hurt the Bestigor. That Flock of Doom, not that powerful. Maybe that one was an overcast, or just, you know, sometimes you just don't get a very good result. His Cygor, though, still chucking 69 kills. I'm still trying desperately to kill him. And I'm getting ready for the infantry engagement. And I'm pretty much out of Winds of Magic at this time, so I kind of pull my flyers back. I want to allow the infantry engagement to happen and engage where I can best use my flying units. Now here we're going to get to major mistake number 2. And that is, look how isolated this guy is. And I'm relying on my cannon, which is because I don't play the Empire very often, and I don't know how effective the cannon is, and I'm assuming it would kill him in a timely manner. It has not. He has 75 kills. All I would have had to do is take one Empire captain over here and hit him twice, and he'd be dead. So, another mistake on my part, and a costly one. Another one I wanted to point out is I brought crossbowmen, because my first, at first blush you think of the Beastmen, you think of low armor, right? These guys do not have a lot of armor. They're going to be very effective. No need to bring handgunners. Well, what about the people I'm most interested in killing? Gorbles, Bestigors, stuff like that? Well, they all have high armor, so I'd be way better served either using these against his infantry or bringing armor piercing. So Gorbol is going to go right through the center of my line, and that's going to bring us to mistake number 3, right? He's clearly demonstrated his intention to break the center of my line to get to my skirmishers and to my cannon, right? Because he's got his Minotaurs right here, his Lord right here, he's got a Gorbol right there, and where's his other Gorbol? Centrally located, right? So everything is being pushed, and look where his archers are. Centrally located. So he's declared to me his intention. I know what his intention is, or I should have known, right? And what do? Leave my single great sword that's already heavily damaged from his artillery, which was another declaration of intent on his part, and I haven't reacted to any of it. I've just played on, right? Not a good choice. So what's going to happen? Well, these great swords are going to, react to the Gorbol, and then they're going to get rear charged by Minotaurs with great weapons, which is absolutely going to shred them. So I'm going to realize this, and I'm going to decide this is a job for the Royal Altdorf Griffites. They have to deal with this. I fire down at the Gorbols and whatnot, which are now going to get a hold of my bowmen, my crossbowmen very soon, and I dedicate my flying corps to dealing with his archers. This is another mistake, okay? These guys are low threat. They're not very good, right? And they have no armor piercing to speak of. So they can't hurt anything of mine that matters, right? But I'm giving them the priority of my entire flying squad. And this is a mistake I make a lot of times. I put my flying group in a control group, and it just ends up where I use them for one thing. Again, I could be sending one over to deal with our friend Cygor, who has 75 kills, who retreated but is coming back. I could be using flying to boost my infantry advantage on the right flank. 1 or 2 charging in here to the rear would be a huge effect. Or I could even bring him back to try to deal with his leadership box, his most powerful and expensive units, like half of his army as far as value, is right here. right? So how I respond to that's going to be important, or how I don't respond to it. So I decide that the Griffites are the answer. This is going to be my next mistake. I think it's 5, but I'm losing track already. And that is, I'm going to charge cavalry uphill, which, they are anti-large. They are armor piercing. They're a good matchup for one of these units. But all of these together, and I'm charging uphill and they're coming downhill, what's going to happen? Well, let's take a look. The Griffites get absolutely slaughtered. Slaughtered. They've got, what, 1 kill, and they've lost 2/3 of their health. And just a horrible decision. Why? To save these 2 crossbowmen? What have they done for me? Absolutely nothing. Neither of them even have a kill. They've done some damage to the people attacking them, but I should have just let it be that, right? These Royal Altdorf Griffites, if I used them to roll up his flank, these guys would have ran a lot sooner, and there wouldn't be nearly as many of them left. So anyways, I see that on the right is the place where the fight is still occurring. I've won on the left. He's got this thing going on. That's fine, though. I've resigned myself to that fate. But his stupid Cygor is back in action and back in range. And I'm cleaning up his infantry well. And then I'm going to take the Royal Altdorf Griffites and send them after his bowmen. Now, sending them in to this situation is not necessarily bad. Sending them in alone, probably not the best choice. They're going to get shot quite a bit. Thankfully, they have high armor, though, so they're going to resist that. Then I'm going to make another mistake. I need to fight these guys, absolutely. But why am I letting him dictate terrain and terms? Why would I, pull over? Why not line up my men and make him come down to deal with them? Or if he wants to go over here, then let me flank them, right? So again, I charge uphill, and it's completely unnecessary. And I lost the Royal Altdorf Griffites, and look at this. I still have most of my crossbowmen. What was the point? They were fine. So we'll see here. He puts down Devolve, upgraded. He does that a couple of times during the fight. That's going to work out pretty well for him. I send all my infantry in to try to deal with his Gorbals and the infantry that he's been able to keep together because of the Gorbals. I dive in the back and get into his archers and some of his weaker units with General of the Empire. Want to cause fear, damage, terror, anything I can. And my archers now are much more effective. They're on the hill firing down. They're completely safe. But so is Cygor, who now has 96 kills, who could have been killed at 50-some kills with the greatest of ease. I need to send those guys in. I will, I believe. So now I've got everything concentrated here because I'm trying to kill Malagar the Dark Omen, because killing him is going to give me a considerable advantage because the Beastmen are known for low leadership, and his infantry are not going to stick around if Malagar goes down. But at the same time, he has his Cygor. You saw there, giant rock coming and crush a bunch of my guys because I'm blobbed up here. I now have my crossbowmen firing at his bowmen. They're going to be quite effective against these guys. The melee in the middle continues. Gorbals are doing a great job of reducing the leadership of my main body infantry. They're also quite beat up at this point, but I'm routing pretty much everything but the Gorbals off the field at this point. Malagar's done for, and all of his infantry want nothing to do with things. Even Cygor with his 122 kills decides he wants to start heading back to the hill. Now, another thing I could have done that I won't call it a mistake, but missed opportunity, is when all of his infantry were over here and I came in the fight, I should have swept in this way instead of chasing them straight down, because chasing them let them do what? Well, flee across this giant field, and they have tons of time to consider coming back, when what I should have done was chase them off the field, because right here's the line. I could have just chased them right off and known they'd never come back. So another missed opportunity. But, the balance bar is pretty close. I still have 3 infantry units. I've got a couple of flyers, but I messed up with the General Empire. There's 4 infantry, 2 crossbowmen, a full Empire captain, and let's stop and look at the situation again. So what have I done? I've abandoned my infantry, who are already beat up and shaken, but could still, have done good damage to Gorbol and could do more. And instead I sent my Empire captain to chase mostly dead, completely ineffective archers. I left my Empire captain in too long, and he's going to head for the hills. And my crossbowmen are now firing through trees, which is going to reduce their effectiveness. So, not, sending the Empire captain over here. He's full health. Like, he could be doing some serious damage over here and providing leadership where it's much needed. Because, I've got archers shooting the Gorbals. I got infantry on them. but they're just going to make a bloody mess out of my guys, and you can see they all begin to rout. They want nothing to do with this. So then I realized the error of my ways, and I start sending the Empire captain over. And I should have brought him over, but I shouldn't have attacked. And the reason why I shouldn't have attacked is I should have let him work his way up here, and I should have parked my leadership here, brought the Empire general and brought the captain over here, and gave my infantry a chance to reform here. Instead, I'm going to, dive him in a couple of times. Some of my fleeing units are going to support him. We are going to do good damage to Gorbel, but we're going to end up taking a lot of unnecessary damage that could have been soaked up by other units. So the Empire captain, of course, is going to shake and start to flee. So now we have a real problem, because the general of the Empire is coming over, but as soon as he even smells something that's, Gorbelish, he's going to run like hell because he has no health left. So he tries to stick around. His Gorbels are going to go into charge. They're going to absolutely annihilate what's left of these greatswords. I try flying over to reduce their leadership. Instead, it results in my flight, and the crossbowmen, when they see the Gorbels coming, well, they decide they don't. And we suffer a valiant defeat to the hands of the Beastmen. So I want to say good game to my opponent. It was definitely a very interesting engagement, a long one, and I apologize for that, but very interesting between the map and the non-lateral play of these two factions and these two builds. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape. The Spearmen did fine. The greatswords did great, except for the one in center, who was bombarded the most and then charged into and through, which I should have seen coming a mile away, and I could have, I could have made my line more narrow or brought over a unit or two, or I should have probably brought the Royal Altdorf Griffites and gave up the element of surprise and parked them on top of the hill, so that way when he came up the hill with things like Gorbels and stuff like that, I could have charged down with the Griffites, and it would have been devastating for him instead of me. The Great Cannon was okay, but he's definitely outclassed by the Cygor. The Cygor isn't listed here, but he had like 130 kills. The Amber Wizard did great. All those Flock of Dooms should have been a victory. Plus, as a flying unit, he got good kills. My leadership in general did well. The crossbowmen were underwhelming. They did spend a good bit of time being attacked and shooting at the Gorbels, but they just weren't worth it. If I wasn't going to use them to fire at his infantry, which you generally don't, I would have been much better off with handgunners. The biggest sin was the Royal Altdorf Griffites. 1,800 gold got me 23 archer kills. I mean, that's just horrible. I misplayed this unit. And if you misplay a Spearman, it's bad, but it's not the end of the world. He's 300, right? This is like misplaying 6 Spearmen, right, and getting no value out of them. This, when you bring an expensive unit, if you don't know how to use it properly or you make a mistake, you're really asking for trouble. Looking at my opponent's army, his Ungor Spearmen did fine. Gorbels were great because they're Gorbels. The Bestigor herd were effective with the exception of this one. The archers, the raiders, were good because they made my flying squad a little too nervous to go after the Cygor. Like if I would have got one more dive charge with all 3 of them and said, the heck with the archers, I probably would have won this fight. If I would have not made any of the mistakes or taken advantage of the opportunities that we outlined, I would have won this battle. It was very winnable. And my opponent won it, and I don't want to take any credit from him, but in a lot of ways I lost it. And if you watch the battle, there's points where the balance of power was going in my favor. Obviously the game itself thought I was going to win. I hope you don't mind that this was long. It was a long battle itself, but also I felt there was a ton of learning here for myself, and I thought, I could just take these lessons, which are incredibly important, and use them to make me a better player, or I could share them with you guys, and maybe it'll make you a better player too. And I think it will. Go back if you have to and watch it 2 or 3 times. I've watched this thing like a half dozen times, and you're going to see all these opportunities that, when you have a battle like this, especially a battle that lasts long and it's a tournament, so both people are playing the best they can, there's going to be a lot of opportunities. And if you don't seize them, you're not going to get the win. You're going to get a valiant defeat. And, at first I was like, well, I got outplayed a little bit and it was a valiant defeat and I didn't feel too bad about it. And then I watched the replay and I was like, I feel bad about this. I know way better. So anyways, if you like the battle, you like tournament battles, or you learned something from this, please hit like, please hit subscribe. Until the next time, this is the Magnus, and I'll see you on the ladder or in a tournament.